This being the same company that champions performers who converse with demented dolls, and takes pride in having tribal chiefs massacre the entire field without a credible successor in waiting. Trying to understand why this bunch of ludicrously talented souls haven't had their unquestionable potential tapped into is a rather painful and ultimately futile exercise. Yet if I don't salute them, then who will? Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are the 10 most underrated wrestlers in WWE today. Number 10, Suray. Combining a bright and unflappable demeanor with a truly devastating in-ring arsenal, Suray and her array of frightening dropkicks looked destined to be an inevitable hit with the NXT faithful by the time they were finally permitted to re-enter arenas. Yet when that moment did officially come around, the landscape had drastically shifted to the point where a star who didn't fall in line with the new brief of physical specimen and/or former amateur/pro athlete was always expected to struggle. Sure enough, instead of doubling down on her no-nonsense fondness of booting the skulls off her opponents before smiling her way back down the ramp, NXT 2.0 saw Suray being reintroduced as a schoolgirl-like magic necklace-dependent character. The new era of NXT is evidently more focused on getting behind the likes of recent sparring partner Tiffany Stratton, and throwing the depressingly undervalued star in there with other green up-and-comers like Lash Legend is doing the former World Woman Pro Wrestling Diana sensation little favors either. Number 9, Akira Tozawa. Make no mistake, Akira Tozawa is a fiercely talented in-ring worker on his day, acting as a Dragon Gate legend and well-respected technician/kick merchant. Yet WWE's odd decision to have him simply play the 24/7 fool in the year since winning the Cruiserweight Championship have only served to highlight just how much Vince McMahon and co have blatantly overlooked the rest of what he brings to the party. Again, it's not as though he's not been given the chance to prove he can seriously go in between the ropes whilst under the WWE banner either, putting together notable 205 offerings alongside the likes of Buddy Murphy and Neville over the years. Yet his ability to make chicken salad out of the boss's routinely crap Monday Night Raw material have reduced him to nothing more than an unfortunate groom with a penchant for roll-ups. Number 8, MVP. Becoming WWE's resident utility player throughout much of the creatively stifled Thunderdome era, an MVP only recently reintegrated into the WWE way of life quietly went about becoming the foundation of some of the most compelling parts of a flailing product. On top of dipping his toe into the producing waters for a spell, the former United States champion has excelled both as the foil for whatever face needed the rub, and as the finest mouthpiece the company has to offer outside of Paul Heyman. Again, highlighting just how irreplaceable and valuable he is to the ever-rolling machine, the former Hurt Business manager has now transitioned seamlessly into the role of Omos's much-needed cheerleader throughout his ongoing battles with former client Bobby Lashley. Yet despite clearly smashing it out of the park in the part of charismatic Kane Brandisher, a fully fit MVP still has a boatload of experience and value to offer as a physical performer. So here's hoping that once he's fully gotten over those irritating injuries, this commendable all-rounder is given the chance to dust off his boots a few more times before calling it quits. Number 7, Fabian Aichner. With the cautiously intriguing news of the recently rechristened Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser being formally called up to Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, came with it the depressing realization that arguably the most physically impressive worker taking up a spot on NXT's roster was being left behind on Tuesday nights. In Fabian Aichner, WWE have a worker who was rivaled only by the likes of Cesaro in terms of pound-for-pound strength and physical impressiveness. As comfortable springing from top rope to top rope as he is transitioning a suplex into a powerbomb mid-flight, the Italian, now seemingly former Imperium master, is about as complete an in-ring worker as you'll find anywhere in the world. The only problem? Well, he's not over 6 feet tall and English isn't his native language, which makes him automatically an afterthought in the mind of the McMahon upstairs. With Aichner currently looking resigned to languishing on an NXT 2.0 product, which isn't exactly built to get the best out of superworkers unreliant on garish gimmicks, it remains to be seen what the future holds for this carved-up machine of a man, but I'm not holding my breath. Number 6, the Viking Raiders. The aforementioned Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser will likely be mindful of the way WWE has handled some of the other once-dominant NXT duos unleashed onto Raw and SmackDown recently. In the Viking Raiders, you have perhaps two of the most disrespected and underutilized wrecking balls to have pillaged and raided the wrestling landscape since their joining of forces back in 2014. Under the moniker of War Machine, Hansen and Rowe completely devastated the Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling tag divisions with their distinct combination of typically powerful big McMahon offense and unexpectedly athletic alternate tag team weapons. Picking up IWGP and Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships along the way, the eventual Eric and Ivar will continue this success as they embarked on an equally enthralling NXT run too. And then said disrespect and underutilization happened. Seriously, you would be forgiven for thinking that I was talking out of my arse upon witnessing how the pair have been routinely undermined and mocked since embarking on their comedy-centric main roster portion of their careers. Who cares when you look that dapper in a bowling shirt though, right? Number 5. Drew Gulak. Is there a more underappreciated player on Vince McMahon's current team of superstars than that of Drew Gulak? Whether he's providing other talents with the in-ring tools necessary to fully fulfill their potential inside of the squared circle, effectively stepping in on 205 Live commentary, helping celebrities like Bad Bunny get to grips with the physicality of a wrestling match, picking up a microphone and filling in as a backstage personality, putting over main eventers as killing machines in TV segments, or even making recently arriving Titans feel that little bit more special. Gulak is the wrestling gift you didn't know you needed until it showed up at your door. The fact WWE was so quick to re-sign the former Cruiserweight champion with a love of all things PowerPoint on the back of his deal expiring in May 2020 tells you all you need to know about what he brings to the sports entertainment table. So fingers crossed he finally gets the long overdue respect, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, and dollar he deserves in the coming years. Number 4. Asuka. No one is ready for Asuka, not even WWE themselves, if her lack of appearances over the last year or so are anything to go by. Despite looking as though the former NXT, Raw, SmackDown and Tag Team Women's Champion had finally gotten over her mid-2021 injury woes at the turn of the year, those higher up still didn't feel as though she was ring ready, and rumours of her re-emergence at the Royal Rumble were ultimately doused by news of Asuka still being listed as inactive as recently as March. Taking the crown of undisputed MVP of the crowdless era, yes, even when MVP was around, Asuka's routine displays of relentless charm and explosiveness in between the ropes led to a much-deserved, though still disappointingly underserved, Raw Women's title run during said LED-stuffed period. Sure, injuries again haven't aided her cause lately, but that still does not excuse the complete lack of care sent the always engaging workers' way before her prolonged absence from July onwards. With that in mind, here's to the Empress of Tomorrow reminding folks at home and WWE themselves why she still sits head and shoulders above the rest. Number 3. Naomi. Though WWE appear to have at least partially recognized what they have on their hands with the former SmackDown Women's Champion, to say that the biggest promotion in the game have allowed Naomi to bloom into the genuine star many still feel she can be would be a blatant exaggeration. In fact, before finally giving the one-time Funkadactyl some actual storyline meat to get her teeth sunk into in the form of a never-ending feud with Sonya Deville, WWE had done little to nothing to capitalize on a swell of legitimate fan support that dated all the way back to her crowd-popping arrival in the 2020 Royal Rumble match. Again, injuries have at times played a factor in Naomi's stop-start runs within the company, yet even holding tag gold alongside another performer WWE seem hesitant to fully back as a bona fide megastar, Sasha Banks, feels like a waste of her unquestionable athleticism, innovative creativity, and genuine connection with WWE's self-professed universe. Still coming in at the not exactly old age of 34, there's time for WWE to finally feel the glow. But should they drop the glow sticks once again in the coming months, you have to wonder whether they'll ever pick them up again. Number 2. Sami Zayn. Few workers would have been able to effectively pull off the balmy contraption and celebrity stuntman-filled spot fest that fans were treated to at WrestleMania 38. Luckily, Sami Zayn is exactly that ludicrously talented performer, often seen as little more than a talent to call upon should Vince McMahon need to put over one of his more desirable pet projects. The plucky underdog fans had grown used to seeing on NXT and had been clamoring for on the main roster showed zero signs of life after another revisit to his always enjoyable feud with old pal Kevin Owens. It was within an eventual partnership with KO that Zayn's true ability to navigate the tiresome WWE system became apparent, however. Reinventing himself as a whiny heel, one fond of cutting corners first and rallying against a company evidently designed to thwart him later, Zayn has been a revelation regardless of whether he's stuck in a management role or crying out for his conspiracy documentary to finally be released. Will this all lead to Zayn actually being given the main event spotlight his fierce dedication and commitment to producing consistent in-ring and on-the-mic gold has more than earned? Or is this WWE jackass destined to be taken for granted? Number 1. Chad Gable. You name it, Chad Gable has more than excelled at it whilst plying his trade within a WWE ring. Technically supreme, exceedingly witty, energy and enthusiasm oozing out of every damn pore. The question marks WWE clearly had over whether or not the former Olympian had a place on their roster seemed about as insane as throwing him in a vest and shorts and branding him Shorty G. Oh wait. But the doubts and garish attire remained for an embarrassing amount of time, before Gable was finally able to give us a glimmer of his always present ability to shine both inside of the ring and as a marketable character outside of it from late 2020 onwards. And while he has finally been gifted the chance to bring his increasingly impressive technical expertise to the WrestleMania stage this year. Alongside fellow Alpha Academy member Otis, Gable's brilliance in getting over everything from shush please, to a thank you acts as the clearest indicator yet that he could be doing so much more for Vinnie Mac's empire if given half a chance. Either that or he'll be forced to trot out said catchphrases in backstage segments well into his 50s. Win-win if you ask me.